What's up, Rockstars? Today I have a first look at Dante Invasion of Hell, and I want to share it with you. First of all, my apologies for how I look. I look probably about how I feel, which is kind of sick. So I do apologize for that. I've been having a nasty cough, all that kind of stuff. I don't want it to appear in the video, so I'll try to edit all that kind of nastiness junk out, but just know if I'm not my normal self or if I sound a little weird, that's probably why. It's not been pleasant. These kind of later colds seem to always be like that, if you ask me. It's like you get a cold in the winter, and it's like, yeah, whatever. You get a cold in like the spring, those are the nasty ones, man. I don't know. Okay, but we're going to be talking about Dante, the Invasion of Hell. This is by Creative Game Studios. They did the Chronicles of Drunagor. You'll see some of that over yonder, over there. They did the Apocalypse, which was the last campaign that they did for that. Really, really fun game. Really enjoyed the prototype of that one a lot. So definitely interested in Dante, the Invasion of Hell. But now we finally know exactly how it's going to work. We have a good synopsis of like, here's kind of how the game plays. Here's kind of the main tenets of it. And then they're going to dive deeper into that over and over again. There is a link down in the description below to these campaigns, so you can go ahead and check it out. Go on and click the follow button. I'm surprised I haven't done that. Let me go and do that. So there, I've done it now. 11,794 other people have as well. It's looking pretty darn cool. So let's go ahead and just in case you hadn't seen the page, this is kind of what they've had. This is what we've known so far, and that's like it. But we're going to have a lot more information. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, this is kind of an early preview that I do it. By the time I have posted this video, it should be just about live for you guys. So go ahead and again, check the link below because I know they're changing some things. I don't know if they're adding any information. Feel free to take a look, but there's definitely some stuff towards the end you want to hear because it's like you could potentially play this game. So let's go ahead and discuss. I'm not going to read it verbatim. My voice would not allow that right now. But suffice it to say, I highlighted the key things here. One of the interesting things is they've enlisted the expertise of a PhD based in Italy to ensure the authenticity of our game's representation of the book. I think that's super cool. They bolded remain faithful to the author's vision. Anytime you're using an IP, an obvious passion for that IP, I think, is important. And I think it's really how you get other people that really like the IP to actually enjoy it. So if you have played all the video games, if you've read all the books and spin-offs and even read the Divine Comedy itself, this is something that might very much interest you because it is definitely taking that into account and treating the IP with respect. But there's some differences. So while they could have gone through pretty much the story beats of the book, they wanted to be able to use what the book provides when it comes to like how hell is and, you know, the various characters in it and stuff like that, but also be creative on their own. So the idea of a second trip in the face of interference becomes very attractive to them. So centuries later, Dante, in the company of the players, needs to revisit hell. And that's pretty much the story. I mean, you can read more onto it, but that's the idea, is Dante and you guys are heading back in there centuries later. Okay? So, with that much time that's passed, there's definitely some changes in the various circles of hell that you'll be able to experience. So, going down to how it plays out, this is where I have a lot more to kind of talk about here. The game is divided into 9 scenarios, or the circles, each dedicated to one circle of hell. They are comprised of 1 game session each. So this is pretty much a 9-session kind of story. Each of these sessions, in turns, is divided into 2 game phases, narrative exploration and confrontation. I can best state that this is very similar of a structural layout to Oathsworn. So if you played Oathsworn Into the Deepwood, then you can kind of understand this. You have this narrative phase where you're kind of exploring and making decisions and doing stuff like that. And then you have the confrontation where you fight the boss at the end. So, speaking of that, players will assemble the board where they place location cards so as to form a map, and then that will have various points of interest. Points of interest is marked that way because it is very similar or reminiscent of what they've done in Chronicles of Drunagor. So if you know how that system works, you know how this system pretty much works. And I think that's a very positive thing. I think the points of interest is one of the highlights of the Chronicles of Drunagor system. Essentially, you get this kind of like big picture that with different interaction points. You can kind of interact with different things and do different things, and that kind of like either it's solving a puzzle looking for clues or interacting with different people or all sorts of things. It's used in a variety of different ways, and it's always really good. And often you can't do everything. So you kind of have to decide, okay, we're here right now. Let's do some stuff and then do that. And it always involves a discussion with all the players and who's going to do what. And it's really good. It's really good. So I also liked the fact that you're assembling a board. So it's not like the city phase of Oathsworn. It's very much like that's why it's called the narrative exploration. There's some exploration involved there, but it's really a lot of the narrative too. At the end of each of these passages, however, they will make moral and strategic decisions that lead to the discovery of new points of interest, the acquisition of mythical artifacts, or encounters with famous characters such as Charon, Julius Caesar, or Cleopatra, among others. So very, very cool to kind of see that narrative exploration, and I hope to dive into that more in the future for you guys. That being said, even though two players might get to the same place, the route they take, the characters they meet, the time it takes, and even their goals for arriving at that same place can be significantly different from one campaign to the next. So from what I can tell, 9 chapters, but definitely replayable as well, right? So you're going to be going over this and trying different things. If the points of interest are anything like these, you can definitely go to the same point of interest even and do completely different things, and different things can come from that. Especially when I played Apocalypse, they were on their A game with that. The interactions with Apocalypse, I met whole characters that I wouldn't have caught otherwise, gone to whole locations I wouldn't have otherwise. There's a lot involved there. Now, at the end of that, players face a Guardian, and that's that confrontation. The Guardian's the boss, right? They will face the most iconic Divine Comedy opponents, such as Minos, Achilles, and Cerberus. So, Achilles, sorry. Big names here, right? You should recognize all of those. And you'll be using an action management system to do that. So let's discuss that. Players will take their actions in the collective window of the caravan turn, alternating the protagonism, it's kind of a weird translation, of the plays among themselves as they wish. In other words, it's kind of like a Conan scenario, stuff like that, where you're not going to use all your actions right away, though you could. But you might say, okay, well, I'm going to move over here and have him chase me, and then you backstab him there, and he'll probably turn to face you, and then, I'll then use my ability to allow Bob over there to move farther and get in range, or whatever, right? So essentially, players can execute a maneuver, which is just what the individual actions are called, at the beginning of the turn, for example, and decide to wait for their companions to execute theirs in order to later execute the 2 remaining maneuvers. As an example, you can perform one action, wait for better conditions, perform the second one, wait again, and then perform the third one, and so on, or you can play them all at once. Now, maneuvers tend to provoke reactions on part of the antagonist, or the Guardian, right, the bad guy, causing them to counterattack and move around the board in the middle of players' turns. So, really what that means is you're going to be organizing strategies with your allies, planning counterattacks, coming up with last-minute defenses, and using skills to explore the 3-dimensional area that you're in. So Creative Game Studios always does this. They love their 3D board games. A lot of table presence, but that also means there's a lot of different things you can do in this one that you don't necessarily do in most other boss battlers. For instance, there'll be advantation placements, fall damage, collision damage, throwing characters against the scenario. I don't know what the against the scenario means. Against other characters, and many other exciting and cinematic effects. In fact, you can even use furniture as improvised weapons. Boom, bam, maybe just like that. Sounds very cool. I have another little tidbit for you. They have not mentioned this in the update. I don't think they will in the update that's linked down below. However, you can actually attack people from above too, like, I forget the term, but kind of like Assassin's Creed style, right? You just like land on them and attack them. And that's what that 3D boss battle area kind of provides. It does add that 3rd dimension that you can now suddenly start dealing with. So it will be fully co-op with a big focus on the storyline, right? It's half the game there. And then, of course, those boss battlers. Now, guys, this all sounds very exciting to me, and it sounds manageable. It doesn't sound like such a huge thing to where they're going to like break their backs on it. And instead, they can do this and it can be great. I was just talking about claustrophobia with some patrons, which ironically has a similar kind of, hey, we're going to make a portal to hell kind of scenario. Same kind of thing though. It's like this is the box, and you play that, and you love it, and it's great, and it's not like some humongous ordeal. How big is this going to get? I don't know. We talk about the 9 scenarios. Is that maybe just the core? Are they doing more? Can they do side things? With the I don't know. I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts. Of course, I'll cover more as it comes up. Oh, but there is one more. First of all, they value your feedback and appreciate any input you can provide. So if you have thoughts, don't just let me know. Go ahead and actually check it out on GameFound and let them know. They will respond. Additionally, they are opening up a few coveted spots for dedicated followers to participate in decision making and play the prototype firsthand. Guys, I get to do that all the time and I love it. I really do. It's so cool to be able to get your hands on it and then provide real feedback. So hopefully some of you guys in this community can do that. I always like it when we win that way. But either way, guys, I'm pumped for it. It sounds exciting. Sounds really cool. Definitely interested in the IP and the gameplay here. So yeah, that's all I had. If you have any questions, let me know. Let them know, of course. And I'll talk to you guys again very soon. Take care, guys. Bye.